Yes, we are back.
You can scream and shout with all your might.
I have returned from yoga class. The mind is clear.
Dig in your heels and hold on tight.
The body is cleansed. And now I'm incredibly hungry.
Either you are wrong or I am right.
I don't know what it is about yoga, but every time I go to yoga class, when it's over with, I want to eat everything in sight. I come back and I attack the kitchen. It's like full frontal assault on the refrigerator. It's like if there's anything in there to eat, I'm going to get it. Alright, we are back. I have thought of things that I need to say about this election. And where is my list? I've lost it already. People. Before we move on to the analysis of the fact that the terrorists and the Democrats are the same things, let me mention something else from the debates that I completely forgot about that's very critical. Does anybody remember when Kerry was talking about his socialized medicine scheme? And he said that you don't have to participate in it if you don't want to. It's not going to be socialized medicine. I thought, oh, this is great. We're going to have government health care. Excuse me. I'm drinking ginger ale, so you may hear a few body function noises. John Kerry said, we don't have to participate in his health care plan if we don't want to. But guess what, folks? We're going to have to pay for it. You don't have to participate, but you're going to pay for it. This is like me telling you, I'm going out with some friends for lunch at Red Lobster. You don't have to come with us, but we're going to pay for it using your credit card. I mean, what is this nonsense? The government is going to provide health insurance for people. You don't have to partake of it if you don't want to. No, but you're going to pay for it. Trust me on this one. Now, here's what I want to know. Well, wait, let me figure out, what order. Alright, let's do this first. This is, well, look, my question is this. Alright, how can Bush win this election? How can Kerry lose? I mean, look, Kerry has on his side everything. He has the media. The media is lying for him constantly. The media is covering up his mistakes. He has the entire hate Bush crowd. Because let's face it, how many people can you find who are, how many people can you find who are enthusiastic about voting for George Bush? And I'm going to tell you the answer is very, very few. I mean, how many people can you find who are enthusiastic? Well, wait a minute. Actually, what I just said was true. How many people can you find that are enthusiastic about voting for George Bush? And the answer is not very many. What I was trying to say, as I was getting caught up in the moment, is how many people can you find who are enthusiastic about voting for John Kerry? Not many. There aren't these people out there who want Kerry to be president. There are just these people out there who don't want Bush to be the president. But, so John Kerry's got the media lying for him. He's got the I Hate Bush movement backing him up. He's got the Hollywood rich elites. He's got Michael Moore doing his propaganda movie. He's got the terrorist. Alright, where is the quote? Where is the quote? This is a quote from Penn Jillette of Penn and Teller, the magician. Now, I want you to listen to this. This is so incredibly relevant to everything that is going on here. I mean, just... Penn Jillette, quote, I think the real heroes in this country, the true patriots, are the ones who aren't voting. Clinton had, 23% of the population voting for him? If you can go in there and actually pull a lever for either of those two scumbags, what kind of piss-poor human being are you? I haven't met one person who says, I fucking love Bush. He's the best person in the country to be president. That guy, please vote. The person that says, Kerry's the best. I agree with everything he's done. I like him shooting Kong in the back. Vote for him then, please. The whole anyone but Bush thing is the biggest horror. It's the most cynical point of view possible. You're saying I don't even need a president who means anything to me. I mean, how? There, right there, there is the whole fucking election that we're going through in one short paragraph. How many of you people out there can seriously sit here and tell me, look me in the eye and tell me I really support Bush, I really support Kerry, either one of them? How many of you can tell me I really agree, I think these guys are the greatest, I think this man is the one human out of the entire population of the planet, of the earth, who deserves to be the president? And I'm going to tell you, if you can say that to me, you should be shot in the fucking head. Neither one of these guys deserves to be pissed on. And yet you morons tomorrow are going to make one of these two scumbag excuses for a human being the most powerful person on earth. And you wonder why I refer to you all as idiots. Okay, now, back to where I was going. On the subject of idiots, there's Al Frankin. Some of you, of course, may be familiar with Al Frankin's radio show on Air America Radio, which is now up to according to this newspaper article in the Sunday, October 10th, Denver Post. He is now up to 33 radio stations. Wow. I bet Rush Limbaugh is quaking in his boots. But we're at the Al Franken's, Air America, AirAmericaRadio.com, the official website. And right now, from 10 to 12 p.m., the Mike Maloney show is on. Woo! And here's what Mike has to say on the little website here. This is the little teaser to get you to come in and listen to his program. So it's down to this. 24 hours remaining before the people of the U.S. either cast their votes for another 4 years of the mind-numbing incompetence and immorality of the Bush crime family, or choose to end our 4-year-long national nightmare. Who hasn't said that this election is one of the most critical in our nation's history? Do we choose to continue the experiment in self-government devised so carefully by the framers of the U.S. Constitution? Or do we sink into the religious fascism so ardently sought by the current illegitimate national leadership? Could the choice be clearer? Oh, horseshit. What the fuck are these liberals doing even talking about the founding father? Oh! Where's my list? I cannot forget this. Alright, what are these idiot liberals doing even talking about? These are the people who can't figure out what the hell the Second Amendment means. These are the people who can't figure out what the Ninth Amendment means. These are the people who can't figure out what the 10th Amendment means. And they're fucking trying to dredge up the Founding Fathers? I mean, Jesus Christ! I think I'm gonna fucking puke all over the microphone. Breathe. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Anyway, back to Al Frankin. This is what Al Frankin has to say in an interview. The interviewer says, "Why do white guys tend to lean Republican?" Al Frankin's enlightened answer. Quote, "There's a certain percentage of white guys who carry a vestige of chauvinism and/or racism that the Republican Party does tend to appeal to. I think there's a lot of pandering to that kind of machoism and then the rugged self-reliance in anyone who's poor is poor because of something they did." Yes, we can't have any of that self-reliance, can we, Al? I mean, God forbid that somebody not rely on the government for everything. And this is one of those things, too. I really don't understand why the religious right and the atheist left don't love each other more than... Well, alright, I understand, but why can't these people realize how similar they are? I mean, the religious right credits everything to God. For example, you become a human being at conception when you receive a soul. Okay? Now, the atheist left credits everything to the government. For example, you become a human being when you are born, and the government assigns you a social security number. The differences between these two groups are really non-existent. Neither of them is capable of doing anything for themselves without guidance from above. It's just that for one group, guidance from above is God. For another group, guidance from above is the government. And, quite honestly, this is just one more reason why I'd rather have Bush in there, is, God doesn't actually talk to us, so you can't go out there and say, well, God told me to put all the Japanese Americans in relocation camps. Whereas the government can tell people to do things like this. To continue, Al Frankin, now I read from the article, and yet Frankin, ever the liberal, is no socialist. Quote, I want liberal radio to work because it's profitable, unquote, he said, not because of any political pressure on Clear Channel. Now wait, isn't one of the things liberals hate more than anything else profit? After all, they hate rich people, they hate small businesses, and now Al Frankin said, well, I want my liberal radio network to be profitable. Right, so it's okay for you to make money, right, Al? It's just wrong when the rest of us make money. Finally, here's a beautiful example of liberals getting away with something that conservatives or libertarians or anybody else will never get away with. Al Frankin is talking about politicians and who he could beat up, who he could wrestle. And this is what he says about Texas Senator Kay Bailey Hutchison. Quote, I could whip her ass, unquote. Now, imagine if George Bush said about, say, Teresa Kerry, I could whip her ass. Now, how far would that fly? But, when Al Frankin, of course, Al Frankin is funny, as he never ceases to remind us. He used to write for Saturday Night Live back in the days when it was funny. If any of you have ever listened to Air America, Al Frankin's show on Air America, let me tell you, it is not fun. It was 3 of the most hideous hour. And not only that, but, I disagree with Limbaugh about a lot of things, but there's something I can say for Limbaugh. At least Rush Limbaugh can articulate why he believes things, not just what he believes. I listened to the Frankin show. I was looking for articulation of his beliefs, articulation of why he believed things, articulation of why somebody should vote for Kerry other than he's not Bush. There was nothing there. The Frankin show has absolutely no substance whatsoever. And it really doesn't have any entertainment value either. As I take another swig of luscious ginger ale. Now, the thing that I wrote down, here's another thing that totally pissed me off. I do believe it was during one of the debates. Kerry was talking about his coalition building skills. And Kerry dredged up. He said, I'm going to build a coalition to take care of the tabula like George Herbert Walker Bush and like Ronald Reagan. And I just thought, wait. Now, first of all, why is Prince John even saying Ronald Reagan's name? But what is he talking about? What coalition is he talking about? Ronald Reagan never built a coalition. Ronald Reagan took on the evil empire, the Soviet Union, essentially by himself. The only world leader that stood by Ronald Reagan was Margaret Thatcher. That was it. The Europeans hated Ronald Reagan. For those of you out there who were not alive during the 80s, the Europeans, the way they hate Bush today, the Europeans hated Ronald Reagan. They thought he was going to get them in a nuclear war. They called him a gung-ho cowboy. They burned effigies of him in the streets. They hated him with a passion. And for John Kerry, Ronald Reagan never, ever built a coalition. I have no clue what John Kerry is talking about. And we know why George Bush didn't bother to call him on this stuff. It just shows what an idiot George Bush is. Ronald Reagan never built a fucking coalition. Never. Ronald Reagan did this by himself. Ronald Reagan was the epitome of what I said in the first part of my pre-election analysis. That the United States must never seek permission from anyone other than its citizens to defend this country, to take military action. We do not need coalitions. We do not need United Nations consent. We do not need it. That is the difference between us and the rest of the world. If you don't like that, get your shit, get the fuck out of this country. There's plenty of countries out there that don't take a piss without permission from the United Nations, and you can go live in one of them. After all, aren't liberals the ones who always tell us that all cultures are equal, and everybody is equal, and no one nation is better than another nation, and nationalism is bad? Well then great. If one nation thinking it's better than another is bad, and if nationalism is bad, and if we're all the same, then take your ass to another one of those countries. 'Cause there's no difference. Here, and briefly, this is, I'm talking about how can Kerry possibly lose, because with the media on his side. Here is a classic example of the cluelessness. Again, this is the October 10th Denver Post. The headline says, "Debates give Kerry's stature a lift." Smaller type underneath that, it says, "Yet polls favor Bush." Why, the debates gave Kerry's stature a lift, yet those stupid people out there that we polled, why, they still favor Bush. We don't understand it. They must be complete morons. Look, how can Kerry lose? The media is behind him. The media is lying for him. The hate Bush crowd is against him. The Hollywood is against him. Michael Moore is out there doing his thing. The terrorists are supporting him. And if he loses, what is this going to tell us? What is this? Now, we have here, on the subject of the media being unbiased, objective observers, here is the Rocky Mountain Bullhorn. It's a local throwaway rag. This is the October 28th to November 3rd edition. The cover story is entitled "Bye Bye Bush," and the cover picture here has Bush in the Oval Office falling through a trap door. Now, this is what gets me about the media, is every time we have an election like this, on the editorial pages, and the Bullhorn is no different, we have where the editorial staff of the newspaper goes through and tells us who they think should be elected for what position, because of course we need their guidance, as if anybody gives a rat's ass what the editorial staff of the Collegian or the Rocky Mountain News or the Bullhorn actually thinks. Anyhow, shockingly enough, the Bullhorn has endorsed nothing but Democrats. Imagine that. Of course, people who work in newspapers will tell you why there is no bias. We are objective observers. And that's why you have endorsed only Democrats. Alright, I take that back. They have endorsed one Libertarian. I'm going to read this to you. They have endorsed Dan Cochran, Libertarian, for CU Regent District 4. Now, you're going to love... Now, I want you to listen to this, because they've managed to endorse one person who's not a Democrat. And here's their rationale. CU Regent Tom Lucero, a Republican, says he's never had any regrets. Odd, considering a grand jury criticized the Regent's handling of the football program. But given his ties with the athletic department, it's not surprising that the one thing he would have changed in hindsight was the university's PR practices amid allegations of rape and improper recruitment practices. Now, this next sentence is the killer. So let's establish this. The guy who's in there now is a Republican, and all Republicans should be hated, but this Republican should be hated even more. Because it's his fault that this chick at CU got raped. I mean, we all know that everything, remember, atheist left, everything is the fault of the government. So, obviously, it's the fault of this Republican regent that this girl got raped. Now, listen to this sentence right here. Cochrane's brand of libertarianism is relatively harmless, and it might be a breath of fresh air. So, we're going to endorse the Libertarian. I can only assume there's not a Democrat running for the position, because otherwise we would have endorsed him. We're going to endorse the Libertarian because, well, the Republican, he's responsible for raping women. And, well, he's a Libertarian. He's relatively harmless. Not only do I think that Bush is going to win, not that I want it, God knows, but given the alternative, Randy's rolling her eyes again. I mean, look, I'm serious, okay? It's going to be Bush or Kerry. It's going to be Bush or Kerry. As much as I think Bush is an incompetent moron, well, yeah, I know. Randy being a Republican agrees with me. Well, she doesn't agree with me that Bush is an incompetent moron. She agrees with me that Bush is better than Kerry. I'm hoping that Bush wins because I'm already planning the letter I'm going to write to the bullhorn. How? I ask you, how? How can Kerry lose? If Kerry loses, I'm telling you, if Kerry loses, you think I am out of control now. And not only, how can they've got the lawyers are already suing people. The lawyers are already nitpicking the electoral process. The election hasn't even happened yet. They're already nitpicking the absentee votes, the early voting. I mean, how? If Kerry loses, this is going to prove to us two things that I have been saying for most of my life. It's going to prove to us, number one, liberalism is dead. Liberalism as a political philosophy, as an ideology, is dead. It's going to prove to us, number two, that the Democrats are truly the most incompetent political party that has ever existed. Everything is stacked in their favor right now. They've got the media, they've got popular culture, they're running against one of the weakest presidents we've had in ages. I mean, my God, I hated Bill Clinton, and I would rather have Clinton than King George II. And yet the best they can do is Kerry. And what's Kerry doing? Well, I'm going to make crippled paraplegics get out of their wheelchairs and walk. I was a war hero in Vietnam, but let's not talk about the fact that I burned civilian villages and shot civilians. I have a plan. I'm going to make socialized medicine, but you don't have to participate. You just have to pay for it. I voted for the troops, but that was after I voted for the troops, or didn't vote for the troops, or didn't vote for the money before I voted for the money. I'm not sure anymore because I flip-flop so often I don't know what my position is, but I do know that George Bush allowed 300 tons of high explosives to be stolen even though there's no evidence. And he's getting away with all of this. Yes. Yes. All right. Yes, dear. I know. I get a little worked up. It's okay. It's only going to get worse. More eye rolling from the control room. But it's okay. That's why Randy's here, to keep me entertained and to keep me sounding good. Well, the sounding good part she's not doing a very good job of, because there's only so much you can do with modern technology. Yes, we need those little beep buttons for every time I scream out the word fuck. Okay, so Osama bin Laden. It's interesting, too. I've seen it spelled Osama and Usama with a U. I'm really not sure which is the correct spelling. Oh, excuse, moi. There was a little French there for you fucking pacifist French lovers. I was always under the impression it was spelled Osama, but hey, I could be wrong. I know, I could be wrong. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I could be wrong. Oh, yeah, I could be wrong. Right. Yeah, I wouldn't fucking hold my breath. Okay. Now, I have said John Kerry has the support of the terrorists, and I want to read some, possibly all, but at least some, of the transcript of the Osama bin Laden tape. And I am going to, well, alright, let me just start reading. And I will break in with commentary where it is necessary. Osama says, "You, the American people, I talk to you today about the best way to avoid another catastrophe and about war, its reasons and its consequences." Well, okay, at least this is something he's an expert on. He did cause the last catastrophe. He does know about war. I mean, he was trained by, the government of the United States. Yeah. Good move, boys. The problem with training people in foreign countries to kill people is that then there's a bunch of people running around who have been trained to kill people. And of course, this is the whole, well, that's a whole debate there. You know, should we be training people in other countries? And this was part of the Cold War. This was part of helping the Afghans resist the Soviet invasion. And to be honest with you, I was completely in support of helping the Afghans fight the Soviet Union. 101% behind it all the way. So, but this is an example of something we did that was good at the time, biting us in the ass. And so see, that's why. But you know what? That happens. Show me any human being that's made it through years of life. I mean, anybody who's more than 10 years old who hasn't had something they've done that was a really good idea at the time that turned around and bit them in the ass. I mean, that's life. That's part of that personal responsibility concept that liberals and fascinatingly enough conservatives, and this is something we'll get to in the future, that's something that all of these people, all the non-libertarian philosophies, are just terrified of, is responsibility. This is what makes libertarians better than the rest of you, is that we understand that actions have consequences and we take responsibility for those consequences. The rest of you either want to lay your consequences off on the government or lay your consequences off on God because you are all incompetent morons. Okay, well, let's get back to Osama bin Laden now that I've had my rant. I continue to read the transcript. And in that regard, I say to you that security is an important pillar of human life, and that free people do not compromise their security. Now, I'm sorry, what the hell does that mean? Free people do not compromise their security. Something about that is wrong, but I don't know what that means, and so I can't tell you what it is. I continue reading. Contrary to what Bush says and claims that we hate freedom, let him tell us then, why did we not attack Sweden? It is known that those who hate freedom don't have souls with integrity, like the souls of those 19. May the mercy of God be upon them. Okay, now this is coming up also. This whole thing that the Republicans... excuse-moi. This whole thing the Republicans are trying to tell us that about the reason we were attacked on 9/11 was because these evil towelheads from the Middle East, these sand niggers, hate freedom. Now, I find it hard to believe that there's a bunch of people sitting over there in the Middle East doing their thing, and they wake up one morning and go suddenly, wow, you know what? What? I really hate freedom. Yeah, you know what? I hate freedom too. You know who really has a lot of freedom? Those Americans. They have freedom and DVD players and cell phones and Britney Spears. Yeah, man, I hate those Americans. They got all that freedom. Yeah, you know what we should do? Let's fly some airplanes into some buildings. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's just not working for me. This Osama makes a valid point here. I mean, granted, this is propaganda. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Osama's a great guy, but even Adolf Hitler. If Adolf Hitler walked outside and said, "Hey, look, the sun is large, round, hot, far away," I mean, yeah, he put Jews in concentration camps, but he happens to be right about that. The sun is large, round, hot, and far away. Okay, occasionally people say things that are true, no matter who they are, no matter how evil they are, no matter how bad you think they are, no matter how much they disagree with you. Just fucking get used to that. Sometimes people are right. Except, of course, for me, I'm always right. So this whole train of thought that these people just did what they did because they hate freedom, I'm not buying it. I'm sorry. Let us return. I read the transcript. We fought with you because we are free, and we don't put up with transgressions. We want to reclaim our nation. As you spoil our security, we will do so to you. I wonder about you. Although we are ushering the 4th year after 9/11, Bush is still exercising confusing and misleading you. Still exercising confusion and misleading you and not telling you the true reason. Therefore, the motivations are still there for what happened to be repeated. Now, what's the subtext here? Because George Bush is confusing and misleading people, there might be another terrorist attack. In other words, because Bush is the president, we might attack you again. I read, and I will talk to you about the reason for those events. I will be honest with you about the moments the decision was made so that you can ponder. And I tell you, God only knows that we never had the intention to destroy the towers. Okay, they never had the intention to destroy the towers. So what, they accidentally flew the airplanes into the World Trade Center? Now, what the hell kind of... Now that, if I've ever heard a Democrat-type statement, I never had the intention to vote against the troops. I never had the intention to shoot Kong in the back. I mean, there's a line straight from the Democrats. We have no responsibility for what we did. We never had the intention to destroy the towers. We are completely blameless. I continue reading. But after the injustice was so much, and we saw transgressions and the coalition between Americans and the Israelis against our people in Palestine and Lebanon, it occurred to my mind that we deal with the towers. And these special events that directly and personally affected me go back to 1982 and what happened when America gave permission to Israel, and what happened when America gave permission for Israel to invade Lebanon, and assistance was given by the American 6th Fleet. Okay. This, of course, brings us to Israel. And anybody who does not favor the United States giving large amounts of money and military support to Israel is automatically called an anti-Semitic. This is because... oh boy, here we go. This is because the Jews have been writing the Holocaust ever since it happened. It's like, look, people, get over it, move on. This whole anti-Semitism thing that you people are constantly drumming up does not exist. And right now, right this very moment, somewhere out there's somebody who's Jewish listening to this, and they're calling me anti-Semitic. Why? Because this is the only argument you people ever have. You're wrong about so many things. And, here's the even more important thing. What does it matter? Why do we kiss Israel's ass so much anyhow? Out of all the countries on earth, what is it that makes the government of America think that our lips need to be attached to Israel's ass? Well, they're the only democracy in the Middle East. All right, well, first of all, I thought we were establishing democracy in Afghanistan and Iraq, so we can't use that excuse anymore. I mean, look, we're not going to get into the Israeli thing right now. Do we support Israel? Yeah. And quite honestly, I think this is one of the reasons why they are pissed off at us. And they have a fairly legitimate point. I'm not necessarily sure that we gave permission for Israel to invade Lebanon. I'm not saying we didn't. I'm not saying we did. I'm saying that that's might be playing loose. If we're giving other countries permission to invade other countries, then there's a problem there, because I'm pretty sure that's not a power granted to the government of the United States in the Constitution. If we assisted them, well, then that was just stupid. I mean, I don't know what else to say there. We don't need to be assisting other countries invading other countries. I'm certain that power is also not in the Constitution, unless we happen to be at war with the country that's being invaded. I continue reading. New transcript. During those crucial moments, my mind was thinking about many things that are hard to describe, but they produced a feeling to refuse and reject injustice, and I had determination to punish the transgressors. And as I was looking at those towers that were destroyed in Lebanon, it occurred to me that we have to punish the transgressor with the same, and that we had to destroy the towers in America so that they taste what we tasted and they stop killing our women and children. We found no difficulties in dealing with the Bush administration because of the similarities of that administration and the regimes in our countries, half of which are run by the military and half of which are run by monarchs, and our experience is vast with them. And those two kinds are full of arrogance and taking money illegally. Well, it's a point. There is arrogance. There is taking money illegally. And now accusing Bush of being arrogant and taking money illegally, again, there is a sentence directly from the Democratic playbook. I mean, I swear to God, Osama bin Laden is probably registered illegally in 5 or 6 different states to vote Democrat. Of course, the idea that the Democrats don't take money illegally and aren't full of arrogance, that's kind of silly. I continue reading. The resemblance started when Bush, the father, visited the area, when some of our own were impressed by America and were hoping that the visits would affect and influence our countries. Then, what happened was that he was impressed by the monarchs and the military regimes, and he was jealous of them staying in power for tens of years, embezzling the public money without any accountability. And he moved the tyranny and suppression of freedom to his own country, and they called it the Patriot Act, under the disguise of fighting terrorism, and Bush the father found it good to install his children as governors and leaders. Well, the Patriot Act is tyranny disguised as fighting terrorism, and this is definitely one of those things where if we enact the Patriot Act, well, the terrorists have won. Remember how often we heard that right after 9/11? If you don't go out and use your credit card and go into debt and spend a lot of money, then the terrorists have won. Nobody ever mentioned that if the government passes the Patriot Act and takes away your civil liberties, that in fact the terrorists have won. Nonetheless, attacking the Patriot Act, which remember, here's another sentence right out of the Democrat playbook. The Patriot Act is evil. The Patriot Act suppresses civil liberties. As John Kerry said, I support the Patriot Act. I would just apply it differently. I would use it to silence people who disagree with me. George Bush is using it to silence people who disagree with him. We all know that when a Republican silences somebody, it's suppression. When a Democrat silences somebody, it's freedom. Yes! Randy is not. Yes. Anyway. And as for Bush installing his children as governors, well, he installed his children. Well, I'm not sure if he installed them. I'm sure he helped them get elected. I'm not sure if he installed them. I return reading, and we're almost done with this, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the length. We agreed with the leader of the group, Mohammed Atta, to perform all attacks within 20 minutes before Bush and his administration were aware of what was going on. And we never knew the commander-in-chief of the American Armed Forces would leave 50,000 of his people in the two towers to face those events by themselves when they were in the most urgent need of their leader. Alright, first of all, now see this, again, this is right out of the Democrats' playbook. Attacking George Bush because he didn't do anything about the attack while it was happening. What the hell was he supposed to do? Now, that the commander-in-chief of the American Armed Forces would leave 50,000 of his people in the two towers to face those events by themselves? What was he supposed to do? Fly there and run up into the World Trade Center? I mean, there's not much he could do about this. I continue reading. He was more interested in listening to the child's story about the goat rather than worry about what's happening to the towers. So we had 3 times the time necessary to accomplish the events. Again, I mean, attacking Bush for not doing anything soon enough. Again, what the hell was he supposed to do? What? Somebody explain to me. Oh, yeah, and aside from that, this has already been debunked. He spent 7 minutes or something. What? It doesn't matter. What was he supposed to do? And what's he supposed to do anyhow? I mean, look, if I'm sitting in there, they come in there and say, look, an airplane just flew into the World Trade Center. The first one happened, everybody was sitting around thinking it was an accident. I mean, who the hell knew that it was an attack? Now, when the second one hit, it's pretty obvious. At that point, somebody should come in. They tell Bush what's happening. If I'm sitting there, I'm the president. I say, look, I'm busy. I'm hanging out with the kids. I'm doing a photo op. I'm trying to get reelected, even though I just got elected because I got to start working on my campaign. I say, look, get your ass out there. Call up the commanders and chiefs. Call up whoever's in charge, Federal Aviation Commission. Tell them that, number one, I want every airplane grounded right now. And tell the Air Force to scramble everything they've got in an airplane that doesn't land. You shoot it out of the fucking sky. And then you go back to hanging out with the kids. That's all you can do. I mean, what else? What is he supposed to do? Personally? See, here's the thing. They attack George Bush for not micromanaging the response. And then at the same time, George Bush is an idiot. So wait, George Bush is an idiot, but he should have micromanaged the response. If he really is an idiot, do you want an idiot micromanaging the military and civilian response to a terrorist attack? If you do, then you're a fucking idiot also. The last thing I want is an idiot micromanaging anything. So which is it? Should George Bush have micromanaged the response, or is he an idiot? Make up your mind. I continue reading the final 3 sentences, which could have very easily been spoken by Prince John Kerry or any other Democrat. Your security is not in the hands of Kerry or Bush or Al-Qaeda. Your security is in your own hands. Any nation that does not attack us will not be attacked. Any nation that makes peace with us, why, it is in your own hand. You know what? It's not in my hands, buddy. Because in my hands, I just nuke your little ass. And it would be over with. Again, here we're preaching the politics of peace via pacifism. Whereas, of course, I, as a libertarian, believe in peace via strength. I know how to eliminate the Al-Qaeda threat. I know how to eliminate the Osama bin Laden threat. You kill them. You have to kill them. You have to kill all the relatives. You have to kill everybody. Because remember, if you let your enemies' relatives live, you just make more enemies. Yes. Randy's pointing out that it means I have to kill everybody. Yeah, well, probably so, except, of course, for myself. Actually, though, if I killed everybody except myself, I'd kill some people I like. Well, there are a couple, yeah. Believe it or not, there are a few people I like. And so then I'd be mad at myself, and I'd be my own enemy. I'd have to kill myself as well. That, of course, is one of the problems with peace through strength when you start using the strength. This is why I believe the strength needs to be used as a deterrent. If you play your cards right, you never have to actually use the deterrent. Anyway, there we have it. More Democrat propaganda from Osama bin Laden. So I'm telling you, I mean, how... I don't know what else to say here. How can Kerry lose? If he loses, if Kerry loses this election, if Kerry loses this election, the Democrats, I mean, what else can they do? They've got every possible advantage. It's absolutely, unmistakably nauseating how much advantage they... Ooh, excuse me. It is nauseating how much experience... It is nauseating how much advantage they have in this election. If they blow it... And I've said it before, I'm saying it again, even though I'm looking constipated again, the pain on my face. I hope they blow it. I hope they blow it because I don't think we need a president who asks the permission of other countries. I don't like Bush, but I don't want Kerry in there. I also hope they blow it because I cannot wait to see the spin the media tries to put on this. I can't wait to hear what... Yeah, and here's the amazing thing. That if the Democrats lose, they're going to come out and they're going to say it's because the election was stolen. It's going to be because the election results were faked, they were rigged, all the votes weren't counted. It's going to be because the American people are stupid, they were hoodwinked, they were lied to and they believed it, they were misled, all this other stuff. Yet, magically, if the Democrats win, we're going to be told why the people have spoken. Now, wait a minute. Are these the same people that if you lose, you're going to be calling idiots who are hoodwinked and misled and lied to? They're going to tell us, well, I see this year the electoral process, unlike in 2000, was fair and all the votes were counted. It's just... Sometimes I wish we lived in parallel universes where the Democrats could win in one universe and Kerry could lose in the other. And everything else was exactly the same, and we could bring these together and say, how is it that over here, the people who elected Bush are all a bunch of idiots who were misled and participated in a corrupt electoral process, but why over here, everybody is enlightened, peace-loving, wonderful people who voted in a fair election where every vote was counted. This is just unreal to me. Alright. I think it's time. I think it's time to bring this to it. Do I have anything else I need to cover? Randy, was there anything else on my list? I'm looking at the Air America site again. Some of this stuff is absolutely silly. Yes. 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 Yeah. How long? 48 minutes. Oh my goodness. Okay, that's it. I am out of here. Thank you. Come back. There will, of course, shockingly enough, there will be post-election coverage. There might even be some during the election coverage. It depends on... No. Randy's asking if I will be closely following the election tomorrow. The answer is no, I really won't because there's no point. I'm not... It's going to happen. I don't need to sit there and watch it. It's like a watched pot doesn't boil. I'll get up Wednesday morning. I'll see what the hell's going on then. I don't really care to pay any attention. Tomorrow I'm going to be doing some shopping, stimulating the economy. Here in Colorado it's starting to snow. I need me some nice warm boots. Thinking maybe a personal CD player, So, there you go. Yeah, that's what's going on. Yes.
It's just opinions. Keep off in sight.
What is... Yes.
Why should you bother with